I am feeling digitally connected, man.
Like we need to have an understanding of what can happen, what can't happen, because you have to start with some of your strongest material.
Right. You are going to be one of the people that are going to get left behind. It's that simple. You can do it.
All right. Welcome to the Tech School Podcast, powered by DSDT. I'm Josh.
And I am Mr. Harris.
Good afternoon, Mr. Harris.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm about to say, hey, what happened to my fans? Okay. All right. That's okay.
Try that again.
I am Mr. Harris.
There we go. No applause today. I'm sorry, Carlos.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
I know who happened.
Ooh.
I know who happened. Don't worry about it.
As long as their name isn't Josh, we're okay.
Yeah, you definitely would. It's all right. How are you?
I'm doing well, brother. How are you?
Here we are again.
Episode 8 of this jam-packed season.
Has it been moving?
It's been moving along.
Wow. I know.
That's when you know you're busy.
Yep, right. Every week it seems like just knocking them on out.
Absolutely.
So we always shoot for 12 per season. I think it was season 6. We only did 11, but we're definitely going to shoot for 12 this year.
Oh yeah.
Everything is pretty much as it was. Definitely want to pick up where we kind of left off last week. So first of all, why don't we get into a little bit about? Let's talk about our graduation last week.
All right. Hit me.
So I don't know about everybody else, but I enjoyed myself.
Oh, you did?
I thoroughly enjoyed myself. It was as if it was the first one. You know how you have the butterflies, you're a new school and you're trying to do, these commencement ceremonies for your graduating class. I had butterflies, I had Hanks, I had all these great things. And when it came together, I was pleasantly surprised and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I really did. For those that didn't catch it, you remember we were doing the Steve Jobs AI, more deep fake AI, and it's a story behind that. But if you didn't catch it, just a sneak peek of it, right? Mr. Deepfake Steve Jobs.
Good evening, respected faculty, cherished families, distinguished guests, and most importantly, DSDT's graduating class of 2023. Before we delve deeper into this pivotal moment, let me clear something up that might be a bit perplexing. I'm not the Steve Jobs you may have envisioned, but rather a deep fake representation of him. A deep fake is a cutting-edge technology that utilizes existing imagery and audio to fabricate an almost indistinguishable yet entirely synthetic experience. My existence here addressing you today.
So we're not going to do the whole video, but I just get caught up in it itself, right?
Strides that I, in my original incarnation, played a role in it.
Steve Jobs go for?
Steve Jobs went for roughly about 8 minutes.
Okay.
And it was pleasant for me. I used the word pleasant because so much work went into it. So much work. So whether you know it or not, this is actually one of our instructors. His name is John. John is over the digital marketing program, or he's in the digital marketing program. And so, after we were able to do a number of takes of John doing the speech that we created, we were able then to go back and to clone the voice, redo the voice from some of the speeches that Steve had given over the years, as well as the face. Now, we learned a lot in this process. I can't lie. We learned absolutely a lot. Number one, it's hard to do a deep fake. It wasn't as easy as it was when I did Amber, because the thing about Amber's deep fake, it was so easy to find a lookalike that was already doing a similar content. So, to clone her voice is easy. To do the actual asset of the appearance is difficult within itself. So I was literally all the way down to the day of thinking about hiring a Steve Jobs impersonator.
Stop it.
I mean, I was. And the reason was because as you look at Steve here, This is a young Steve Jobs. Like,
Clearly.
this is Steve Jobs with hair.
Yeah.
So a number individuals said, even in the comments, like, Steve didn't have hair. Well, I'm old enough to remember when Steve did have hair.
Yes.
You know, and I'm talking to like probably in his young 30s, he had a full mane of hair. You know, as he got older, and more so when he developed cancer, is when he began to start losing strands.
Right.
And so the other thing that was a dead ringer was the lack of glasses. So we learned through the process that, you know, there's a number of techniques you have to use in order that you would be able to keep those glasses like Karlos wears every week, you know, that Steve Jobs became known for as the latter years of his life. The last thing, which was of issue for me, are the ears. The ears. They are not Steve's ears. You know?
Okay,
So
now I'm about to look up online and see, get a better idea of how
absolutely
Steve ears looked.
Okay, so the thing about our subject here, again, he's an actor. He was able to give us the mannerisms, he was able to give the vocals, but when it came to some of the body parts or the features in the programs that we were using, you weren't able to crop out of the ears.
They appear to be about the same size. I mean, Steve had bigger ears.
Okay, then. Well,
I'm looking at.
Everybody, hey, I like to say thank you, Josh. We appreciate that.
Older, younger. I mean,
I'm just saying,
roughly about the same
size
or something. Yeah.
The one thing that we learned, I think, in the entire process is that even in order to do a great deep fake, you have to have an asset that resembles there. Right. So, for instance, if I was to do a deep fake, I could probably do, I don't know, maybe a Martin Luther King. I might be able to do a Martin Luther King or
in order to do a deep fake, you need an image that resembles the individual.
To do one that is believable.
Okay.
I would use that word.
That is believable. A younger version of Steve Jobs.
And I'll take that. Yeah. Which is why the
man wasn't always old.
He wasn't. Absolutely he wasn't. And which again, kind of into the conversation as we go a little bit here in a second with Tom Hanks. Yes. You know, because the story is that with these deep fakes, you can possibly do a Tom Hanks or Steve Jobs when he was 30 years old or when he's 56 before he passes. It's just a matter of what you're looking for, you know? So definitely, again, I thank all the team that came together in order to pull it off. The students enjoyed it. I love the conversations that were happening on our YouTube channel. A lot of the excitement that was going on around the commencement ceremony. So I really felt good about it once it was over.
Before we jump onto the next topic, what made you pick a younger version of Steve Jobs?
It wasn't that I picked it rather than it picked us, because, you know, up until that time, I even paid an offshore talent in order to produce something that I thought could pass for Steve. And he was used in the clip that was produced as the behind the scenes. And so, but it just to me wasn't believable. It didn't come off as being authentic.
And that was an older version of Steve Jobs?
It was an older version, but it looked more cartoonish.
Got it.
You know, because it was done in After Effects. This was actually done with one of the programs. So the program that we chose to use is called Swap Face. Swap Face allows you to be able to do deep fakes where it totally transposes regions of the face. Whereas with this one in particular, you needed something that was more of a head swap, you know, from the neck up. And so the programs, I can tell you right now, I spent myself personally days in trying to get something better to render, and it just couldn't happen. So probably the leading program that's used in all this is Deepfake Labs. In Deepfake Labs, it will literally take you, I would say, no less than 6 to 8 hours in order to produce a quality fake. And so it's really time. It's time. It's a lot of time that goes into this. And not only time, but you actually have to know these programs to be able to produce these fakes. It's not something you're just going to sit down and one click and all of a sudden you have it.
It's not copy and paste.
No, it's not. No, it's not. So for anything that you might see online, whether you see the Morgan Freemans or the Tom Cruises, I absolutely, I have to give those credits to those guys because they have done something that not too many can do. So definitely want to say, again, I enjoyed last week's commencement, and I thank all of the teams, specifically, if I can say it, Marco, for the work that was put into it. Definitely appreciate every talent that he could lead to it, because the young man was up until the last day trying to make sure that we had something that was presentable. So definitely was a plus all the way. All right. All right. So what about, we were talking last week about
universal basic income.
Universal basic income.
What is that?
So now that you looked it up.
Well, I'm still learning. You know more about it than I do, so I think you should lead off.
Okay, so universal basic income was a topic that I first heard as I began to listen to a lot of the AI conversation. And in it, the theory is that we get to the point where so many jobs are going to be impacted, if not taken over by AI, that humans won't necessarily have work to do. And if humans don't have work to do, and yet we have all these systems where you have to buy blah, 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 you need a currency for X, Y, and Z, then how are we able, or how will we be able to take care of ourselves if we can't really work to afford anything? So that's where you get this theory of, or concept of, universal basic income.
All right.
Now, as we were talking last week, it's like, well, basically, I'm just going to get free money to do nothing. That's exactly what it is. Exactly. And as I alluded to last week, there are already programs like this that are being funded and implemented around the world, specifically here in the United States. And so this week, we kind of wanted to bring just a few of them to especially our community's attention.
Yes.
For instance,
okay,
Rochester, New York. And this is as of today. In Rochester, New York, a new guaranteed basic income program will provide a monthly payment of $500 to 351 individuals for a year. So that means 500 based on nothing. Okay, so what I've ascertained from a lot of these programs, it has to do with income. So if you are of a low income status, depending on whatever that medium may be, then they say that you can apply and maybe you'll be eligible for the program. But for no intents for whatsoever, other than whatever that criteria is, you're going to get a stipend every month for $500 for a year. Is $500 a lot? I don't know. Maybe to the person that doesn't make over $5,000 a year, it is. And so every little thing helps out, but that's for a year. Then we have a program that was kickstarted in Harris County, Texas, where they were giving $500 each month for 18 months, up to 1,500 families living in below 200% of the federal poverty level, whatever that might be, which is approximately $40,000 for a family of four. So that's roughly $10,000 annually. So if you're making less than $10,000 annually, then up to 18 months, you can get $500 a month again.
Every bit helps.
Every bit helps. $500 again. I got a couple bills that are $500. So I can tell you, I
knock
need
those credit cards off.
I don't know what kind of credit card you got. It's only $500 on it. It must be a secured card.
Oh yes,
I'm just saying. Right here in our backyard, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Ann Arbor, Michigan. Now they're doing something a little bit different. They are focused on low and moderate income entrepreneurs, business owners. They're taking 100 recipients and they're giving them about $530 per month for 2 years. So think about that. I don't know what, I say I don't know what, but $500 a month, that'll help you pay for your domain. That'll help you pay for your phone services, depending on what service you use. If you're using like a Ring Central, like I use, even with my smaller businesses, that will help you pay for just a number of things, depending on if you're mailing things on a daily basis, how much that monthly expense can total to, what type of supplies that you need for whatever that business is. So they're using this to kind of like, streamline for 100 recipients. I don't know what type of businesses those are, but I can only imagine if someone's giving me $530 a month, I can use it.
Of course.
Okay.
Never leave money on the table.
Don't want to leave not a dollar on the table.
Not one penny
Not-
on the table.
not
What we're
one.
talking about.
And lastly, we're going to talk about Cambridge, Massachusetts. Now, Cambridge,
Mhm.
they are doing a program for 130 residents for 18 months who going to receive $500 a month starting in last year. So they have a similar program. So this isn't something that is a conversation that just started with this AI revolution. This is something that's been going on for a while.
All right.
You know, and if so a while, I kind of think that maybe, you know, it's like a form of stimulus checks after COVID, where some families got, you know, upwards of $1,200. I think it was $600 the first time, $1,200 the second time, or whatever. But they got these stimulus checks from the governments just because, in order to kind of like, you know, stimulate the economy. So these are monies that can definitely be used for these individuals, whether it be entrepreneurs, independents, whatever the case may be. Now, I would like to see, because I know that the conversations are going on, and I know that I got somebody coming on later that might be able to give some credence to it. But what about the conversation that's happening with
Tom Hanks?
With who?
Tom Hanks?
I knew you was gonna say that to me. Oh. Funds that if you are a descendant of an African American slave, and reparations, that you think that you might be should be afforded. I want to know where that goes in the grand scheme of the conversation up against universal basic income. You know, as I was looking at a lot of these pieces, because you find that these programs have been readily adopted throughout the world.
Okay.
Right. But I know that there's conversations going on, whether they be in Atlanta, whether they be in the state of California, for reparations.
Yeah.
And if so, reparations, how much would those recipients receive per month if we're talking, or we're having that conversation? So this is kind of like, you know, if we're able to do it on this side of the house, can we do it on this side as well?
Darn good question.
Just asking the questions. Inquiring minds want to know. I'm just saying.
Nothing wrong with being inquisitive.
Right. So, all right. So, Tom Hanks.
Yes.
Tom Hanks, I knew that you found this to be a great,
it's interesting,
a great topic, because why?
Because again, we are in the world of artificial intelligence. It's quickly evolving, and we have to be subjective. We have to be balanced.
Okay.
Get the other side.
Okay.
Look, AI is part of the future. We know this to be a fact.
Okay.
This story with Tom Hanks is it's just interesting, because he's giving you the other side of this conversation, where he is warning of a message of a fake image of him, a younger version that he had nothing to do with. And he's alluding to the fact of our name, image, and likeness should be protected with artificial intelligence.
And you know what I like about the conversation that's happening around this is the fact that he says that the laws have not caught up with the technology as of yet.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he says that this isn't something that's new, right? Yeah, there's a digital ad, dental ad out there that uses his likeness. He says, but come on, let's be honest. I've been in film for so many years now that I can tell you the first time that the technology was used to give a catalog of my intellectual property was in 2004.
Wow.
With Polar Express.
Wow.
Remember the cartoon,
yes,
Polar
I
Express?
Do.
Tom said that was the first time that they used his likeness to clone another version of him.
In 2004.
2004. Okay, so we're talking 20 years ago.
Yes, yes.
You know, so he already is very aware of how this is being used within the industry, and yet he's still saying 20 years later that the laws have not caught up with the technology. So I don't want to use that word, but I'm sitting on the sideline, and I really am interested in seeing where all this goes.
Yes.
You know, I really want to see how fast they're going to move to make sure that what is your digital identity or your digital assets are actually protected. Because as of right now, it's nothing really out there for that.
There are no regulations, no guidance.
Not necessarily for AI.
No.
You know, I was just looking the other day at the Michigan Vehicle Code, right, for drivers' responsibilities, blah, blah, blah. And I noticed how in the code there's written language as it relates to autonomous vehicles. So it took a while for the code, which was written, I think, in 1949 or something, to catch up with the technology, right? If I go to Austin, Texas, I see vehicles running around downtown driverless, right? And you're starting to see some of that even around the Ann Arbor campuses. And so this is just another form of the technology that, as of today, we don't have the protection, but we will perhaps next year. I won't say next month, but it will be in a few years. We definitely will have something on the books for it. So it's a conversation that we have to continue to have. And every day you're going to see things like this. Now take this with everything that I say.
Okay.
Yeah, we did the Steve Jobs for the graduation, right?
Sure.
It was more of a educational experience, more so than anything. We weren't trying to pass him off as Steve Jobs. Yeah. Right?
You made it clear it was a deep fake.
It wasn't a forfeiture or a fraud
you weren't trying
of an individual.
Profit.
Absolutely not.
There was no profit, no gain behind
it. Not. However, in this instance, I would never do anything like that.
Okay.
Would never do anything like that.
It's important to lay that out. You make an excellent point. If there are rules, if there are regulations at this time, if there were currently, you would have followed those rules and
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, that goes without saying, but worth pointing out.
Yeah, and even more so, if we stand to profit from the likeness in any kind of way, then by all means, let's give credit to the rightful estate, the rightful person.
Yes.
If you're taking just a likeness of a Drake and you're creating all these albums,
so the Drake AI album that's out there on YouTube,
right?
Whoever created it, if they're profiting from it,
by all means,
Drake is entitled
absolutely
to at least a percentage of that because it's his image.
I agree 1,000%.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised though if Drake isn't actually profiting for it.
I would be sure. I would.
You know what I'm saying? Because otherwise, I couldn't see it staying online as long as it has been. And it
too influential.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's a great conversation. I like to say we'll continue having these as they come.
That's what it was. It's relevant to what we do here weekly. Tom Hanks, so it's just. Got my attention. Got
his attention, everybody. All right, so why don't we bring on somebody else who's going to get our attention, Miss Amber Boone.
What up, Del?
Hey, is that AI Amber?
No, I was like, man, you started talking about, listen, Steve Jobs was more difficult than AI Amber. I was like, wait a minute now. you mean there's somebody out there that looks like me, that makes content like me? Who is this person?
Yeah.
Would it be too much to ask to bring up the deep fake Steve Jobs and the Amber AI real quick to compare? Would it be too much on the spot?
We don't have them loaded as of right now, but I can tell you that the reason, as I stated, that Amber was so easy to do is because she's not necessarily a look-alike, right? When you look at Amber and her features, right? Amber has blonde hair, right? And she has fair skin. And if I can find someone with the long blonde hair, the fair skin, it doesn't matter how they talk. It doesn't matter anything. As long as I can find that face I can pull off. You remember the movie Face Off with
Nicolas Cage.
And remember, it was about the face that they pulled off, that they changed. If I can pull the face off and I can clone the voice, I can fool you. And that makes more for a credible adaptation than just a picture of Amber with the eyes blinking and the head moving a little bit. So that's why it was so much easier for her. Now, when we started with the deep fake for Steve Jobs, we're talking about John, who has a full head of mane, and he's slimmer, but he has those ears.
The ears were very close.
So to me, it just didn't make for 100% deep fake as it possibly could have been. So that's all I'm saying. Amber, it's not that you were any less difficult. It's just that what you were given to begin with. Okay, so let me say it this way too. one of the things I realized as we were doing this, we often hear about how AI is going to revolutionize, whether it be the film, the acting, whatever. But think about this. This actually adds another group to that skill set. If you're an actor and I want to hire somebody that looks like Paul Walker,
Yes.
you know, from the Fast and Furious,
was
who
thinking
we
about
knew
that.
that died.
Yes.
And if you saw the last one, Paul was in it. That was a deep fake. You know, Paul didn't shoot that shot before he died. So that was either his twin brother or that was someone that looked so close to him.
Oh no, what they did with that situation, the last Fast and Furious movie, Fast X, what they did, they took scenes from from part 5 of the franchise. They took scenes from a previous movie and plugged them in. That's what they did.
Okay.
But alluding to your point, the final movie of the franchise coming out in the next year or so, whatever the case may be, and there is talk about, can they bring back his character, Brian O'Connor, with this kind of technology?
Absolutely.
Maybe it's beyond CGI.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you know, again, Tom Hanks said it's been done. They've been doing it since 2004.
No, but I'm looking at what you did here with the deep fake Steve Jobs. That was pretty good.
That's it. You hear what he said? You hear what he said, Amber?
Yes, it was good. It was good. But, you know, sticking on this for a second, you know, if they could bring back his character with today's technology, how artificial intelligence continues to evolve, as you said, getting the face.
Yep. Just pulling the
face.
If we can just pull that face off, we can pretty much make anybody that resembles
and he has
the actor. Brothers. If he resembles them,
and they look like
exactly, we can pretty much give you a fake that's super believable. So that's the hope. But Amber, I'll tell you this too. I'll send you the link later to the actual content that piece came from, and then you'll see yourself, right? All right. Cool. All right. So why don't we go ahead and get into the tech news this week? Tell us. I really wanted to hear about this one anyways.
I know, right? So Ray-Ban are testing these new Meta glasses. And right now they're just in testing, but essentially they can translate text. It's not quite what has been promised to us from Google in the past, but it's definitely a work in progress.
Carlos.
That's Ray-Ban.
Carlos enjoying himself, admiring himself.
I got my AI glasses on.
Continue, Amber, please.
No, these glasses though, you could live stream to Facebook right from your Ray-Bans.
So I saw this the other day. I was watching when they released it, and I thought, okay, so is this going to be another Google Glass scenario, right?
I don't know.
Someone else.
I don't have the Google glasses, but when Snapchat came out with their spectacles, I was one of the first people to get them spectacles, and I freaking love them. Like, they were so dope. Granted, they didn't the way that they looked, it was very much like you were in a globe. I don't know how to explain it, but the video, it got the peripheral and everything, so it just looked different. But I just hit a little button and bam, it would start recording whatever was around me. And now when I look back at my Snapchat memories, like I was in Europe at the time using them and all this stuff. So I'm like, wow, this is so much different and so much better than the photos and the videos that I took during that time, because it does give you the peripheral and it really feels like you're right there. So I am especially thankful now that I had them, you know, when I was traveling and stuff. So I think there's a huge potential. Like, if they come out with something really good again and something that even a little stylish, because the spectacles weren't like that stylish, then I would definitely be using them. I'm excited.
Yeah, I absolutely am too. And I agree with you 1,000%. Because I know I go places where I don't speak that language. You know, and I see all kinds of signs and I have to pull my phone out and use Google Translate. Thank God for Google Translate. And I'm able to see it right on the spot. If I had the spectacles on like these little boys right here, and I could simply just look at it, or I could say, okay, Charlie AI, could you tell me what the sign in front of me is saying? Or if it's recording. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm looking at a menu, like, you know, I've been to different countries and I'm trying to figure out what I want to eat. And I'm like, I don't know what any of this says, but to be able to just look down and for your glasses to tell you. Or like when I was in Amsterdam, one of the things I noticed, there were so many different languages being spoken. And I was like, okay, I know that's Spanish and I know that's German. what the hell is that? Because that's neither. And I'm like, all of these different languages. Imagine if you're wearing glasses that's like tells you each of the languages that are being spoken around you and what they're saying. Like that would be incredible.
Well, hold on, Amber. I think you just came up with an invention here.
Amber gonna patent that.
I mean, wait a minute.
So actually Meta came out last month with a modal called Seamless 4T, I believe it is. And basically what it does is a multi-language model. And it's going to be built into a number of their products moving forward, so that if you are speaking in English and someone's listening in Spanish, and it automatically translates, and when they speak, it translates so that you can hear it in real time.
Meta Seamless M4T?
M4T.
Okay.
M4T. And so I think that that's going to be a huge benefit, because again, Karlos don't have time to learn your language. And I tried, don't get me wrong. I took Spanish in high school, failed. I took Spanish for a semester in college, dropped out. And here I am now. I took it a few years ago. I took it right before COVID. So I took it in
19.
No, January. I took it in January of 18. I took it for 9 weeks.
All right.
And guess what?
What?
I still awake.
Some people in some situations, I think it might be helpful. I feel like it's really special to be able to communicate with each other, not knowing the language. Like I used to go to a Spanish church like 4 times a week, and I picked up on a lot of it because they weren't speaking English, and I had to just figure out like what all these means, like glory to God, all that. I could do a whole sermon in Spanish now because that's all I knew. So like for a lot of time, I didn't know a lot of functional Spanish, but I could preach to you in Spanish.
So are you pretty fluent now?
I can understand it really, really well, but I never practiced speaking it. And that was my point. That was where I was getting to, though, is that because I was in a lot of situations where I was around a lot of Spanish speakers who had a pretty good understanding of English, but doesn't really speak it. And I have a good understanding of Spanish, but don't really speak it. We can function, live, eat, like do all of the things together. Me fully speaking English, them fully speaking Spanish, and we like co-mingle, co-live, whatever. And it works fine. I feel like, there's something special about that versus wearing these glasses. Like I don't even have to try. I don't even have to learn what they're saying. I don't have to learn how to get by because I can just, have my glasses to translate.
Amber. Yeah.
Let me throw a little something in there. Amber, what you're alluding to is body language.
No.
Feeling and reading the body language, the gestures, the eye signals. That's how you pick up on a lot of things, especially when we don't speak the same language.
Is that true?
Example, and it's not even that, it's context clues. It's more than body language. It's context clues. I remember delay means like tell him, tell her. Delay or like tell her. Delay ella means like tell her. And I remember like I was always, because I spoke English, I was always being translated to, and everybody would always be like delay ella. And I'm like, I kept thinking they were saying somebody's name that sounded very similar. And eventually I was like, they only say that when they're like translating something. And I was like, tell? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh. And it's like things like I had to really figure that out. There was no other context clues other than the only time I ever hear that phrase is when I'm being translated to. So that's how I learned. So it's way more than body language.
So my 10 cents to add to this whole conversation is, and I hope she doesn't get upset because I always do this sometimes, but so my daughter-in-law, Katie has Tyler. All right. Tyler is he's 2.5, and Tyler doesn't necessarily use a whole lot of words to communicate. So now he is in a phase where Katie's like, I wonder, is he going to talk? Is he going to talk? Is he going to talk? And I'm like, he does communicate. He may not say, can you take me to the bathroom? But he communicates and he understands communication. Like he'll come in here with me every day where you are, Josh, and he loves the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and he sits there for hours and watch it. If he doesn't understand the language, how would he just watch it? To me, that even gives more credence to the fact that it's more context than body language, right? Because if he comes in here right now, I say, if you don't go close that door, he'll turn around and go close the door. But he can't say to me, okay, I got it closed. Can't say it, but understands it vividly. So I'm sure that.
Because
what did you say?
I said, or won't say it, because kids that age, you'll think like, well, they can't talk. And then next thing you know, a random Tuesday and they're speaking in full sentences. And you're like, this whole time I thought you couldn't talk.
Power. Listen to her. Listen to what she said, because that's exactly what I told her. It's not that he can't talk, it's that he won't talk right now. And not only will he not talk, but you have to teach him how to talk, perhaps. You know, see, a lot of times we have these things where we just think everybody is innately, we have the same level of communication. You're just going to wake up all of a sudden one day and you're going to say, dad, mama, bathroom. No, it does. Sometimes you have to teach people to do things, and perhaps he's one of those. And so I just think that a lot more work is to be invested, but before you know it, this will just be water under the bridge and he'll be able to communicate like everybody else. I went to speech when I was in kindergarten. In case nobody else did, I'll be the first one to admit to it. I went to speech. I couldn't talk. I used to, instead of saying smell, I used to say frail. I don't know why. I think somebody at home was talking like that. But I went to speech until the first grade. And so, and I mean, not that you can't tell now. I probably still need some of it.
But also, I mean, it also has something to do with where you grew up, your family, their dialect, their accent,
definitely,
their level of diction, so on and so on. That plays a major factor as well.
I still get that from my wife now. She wants to change the way I talk. All right, what's happening over the Instagram?
You sound just fine, Carlos. You sound just fine.
On Instagram, they are testing the option of you to add a comment that is left on a public reel. Doesn't even have to be your reel, it can be anywhere, and you can post it to your story. So maybe if you're reading a news article and you see a comment that you want to have a dialogue around, but you don't necessarily want to just be in the comments, you want to bring that conversation to your people, you can hold on to it. It'll give you the option to pin that comment to your story, and then you can start that conversation in your story. I think this is going to be a good feature. You like that?
We're gonna check into it.
Okay, for example, Jimmy Butler's hairstyle. We could take that clip, that meme or memes that are out there, that story, and throw it onto our page and generate a conversation about what you
can already do that. But now if somebody leaves a comment about it, like a really funny comment or something that sparks like some questions or dialogue that you want to have or whatever, you can take the comment that they leave on the meme or on the reel, and you can pin that to your story and start that dialogue within your story to your people.
So it has to be on stories though?
So for now it's on stories. Yeah. So the reason I like it is because, like, say Carlos, for instance, you posted something really cool and I commented on it, or somebody else commented on it, and I was like, wow, I really want to have this conversation, but I want to have it with my people, with my followers, with you know what I mean, like my audience instead of your audience or a random audience. I can do that by putting that on my story, and I think it's going to be more opportunity for engagements within the stories too, which is going to help with the algorithm.
Okay, and so would I also, if I'm the originator. I tell you to tweet. So if I am the originator of the actual whatever that you're going to take over to your stories, does that mean I'll also be included in the conversation that's happening in your stories about what I said?
While there is nothing that I have found that like says exactly how that's going to work, I would imagine that you would receive a notification that, hey, Amber has pinned your comment to their story, and then I could go look at it. The same way that if somebody shares my reel to their story, I get a notification most of the time that my reel has been shared to somebody's story, and I can go look at it if I want to. Okay,
fair enough. And as always, we can't have a show without talking about X.
I know, and real quick, so this morning,
you can have a newscast without talking about X. I know, every morning.
Mr. X himself is being sued because he did not disclose his stake in Twitter, and it basically saved him like I think $200 million. And so now they're trying to say that he had a larger stake in Twitter than what he originally claimed, and then he bought it. So somehow he ended up saving $200 million by adding to his Twitter stake and then staying quiet about it for 11 days. And so what his attorney saying is, oh, he's like one of the busiest people on the planet. He like completely overlooked it. It wasn't it wasn't intentionally to save $200 million.
So wait a minute now. Is Elon going to jail with Trump?
Oh my goodness.
I'm asking for a friend.
I'm sure he won't go to jail. He just violated SEC rules, so he'll probably just have to pay a fine. Or I mean, like I'm not really sure.
Million.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Josh said he would love to have those type of problems.
Right. Hey. I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
more money, more problems.
To even save 200 million. I mean, I guess I save 200 million every day by not being able to spend 200 million that I don't have. But
that's what caught my attention as you said it.
Yeah,
able to save 200 million.
I might save 5% on a purchase, or like $50. 200 million to save 200 million means you have to spend exponentially more than 200 million.
Yeah.
Like,
I think a lot of us are. What is it? It's the new term, like trans financial or something. Is it
trans financial?
Is it? What is
Identify as a rich person stuck in a broke chick.
Or as we used to say, keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, that part. Well, Amber, we want to thank you once again for coming on and have that conversation with us. We appreciate you every week. And if I guess my friends don't know who you are and where to find you, especially on TikTok.
Well, wait,
where can you be located?
That wasn't my Twitter news though. That was just a just happened. You're hearing it for the first time now kind of thing. But
well, let's go back then. Go ahead and finish it out then.
Okay. Just because we've talked before about like how creators are finding more ways to monetize their social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Okay, so on Twitter, they have paid out $20 million to creators as of July, I believe. And they're continuing to, and through ad revenue, so they're continuing to find more ways to pay their creators. So at a time where people are like trying to determine whether they want to be on the platform or not, all you have to do is have 500 followers and have earned more than 5 million tweet impressions for the last 3 months, and you're eligible to be monetized. And they're paying. So maybe if you're not finding much, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't like being on video and I don't want to. Okay. If that's not your thing and you're just like quick quips or whatever it may be, maybe move on over to X and see if you can get some payouts that way.
So, and this brings forth this question. Which platform do you believe as a content creator is the best to monetize?
I believe that it varies from person to person. It used to be YouTube. I'm really, TikTok is my thing, so I'm a little biased there. I just think they're all competing right now. So it's anyone's game. But I think ultimately everybody's different. Like me, I'm comfortable on video. I'll get up in front of a camera and I'll speak, but I'm also very much on the move. I don't want to spend a lot of time editing. I don't want to have to like put a lot of fancy theatrics on it. So for me, TikTok makes sense because of that. If I wanted to do all the theatrics and the editing, then YouTube might be better. If I was really I was really witty and I just had like one-liners that were hitting all the time, maybe it might be Twitter for me, but that's just not it. So I think it just depends on your personality. But if you can identify where your strong suit is at, man, take over with that platform. Just get on it and start doing you.
Wow, that's what I'm talking about. I felt like I was sitting and listening to one of the panelists at CreatorCon. I'm just saying, I did.
It's coming up in November, right?
Absolutely.
I think I was a panelist at CreatorCon, so.
Okay. And so, finally, tell us where we can find you on Twitter or on Twitch. Are you on X?
I am. I mean, technically, I'm there. I don't do much on there, but
okay.
TikTok.
All right.
But it's Get Real with AB everywhere, though.
Get Real with it. There it is. All right. Facebook. So we will see you again next week. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Amber Boone, everybody. See you next week, Amber. Bye.
Appreciate Amber always.
Absolutely. She take me down, I don't know, a few rabbit holes. Right?
Never fails.
Absolutely. So next.
Yes. Let's keep the topic on entrepreneurs.
Right? And so
Elon Musk to local entrepreneurs.
Mr. Mike Wimberley.
Mm-hmm.
So this conversation,
Yeah.
this discussion
Mm-hmm.
is going to go into a whole lot of different directions. First of all,
Right.
Mike is a Detroit entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Mike has had a lot of success in his life. Mike has done a lot of great things in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I come to know him having a conversation one day with one of the instructors around, and he was like, "Carlos, you'll never guess who's one of my students." And I'm like, "Okay, who?" And he tells me about the student who has had connections with Oprah Winfrey and, you know, a lot of city political figures. And I'm like, I got to talk to the guy. Right. So
Been in the local media.
Absolutely. And so I, you know, spun a conversation, and I was literally floored by the success of our next guest.
Right.
So before we even have that conversation, why don't we just play for everybody the take from Oprah 2016, I believe, and I'll let him come on and explain to everybody to give some context to this. All right.
They are from Detroit.
Stop. I think we found a new chip.
Mike, the potato chip man. Mike is amazing. He has a soup kitchen in Detroit. He started growing potatoes, making his own potato chips.
This is how you know a thing is good. You can see that when you bite into that, that's going to give you crunch and flavor.
All of the proceeds go back to his soup kitchen.
God. Detroit friends, yes.
So, without further ado, why don't we bring on, and I'm gonna say it, Mr. Mike, the potato chip man.
Oh my goodness. Mike Wimberley.
Hold on now. Can I get it, Mr. Mike? How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be here with you and Josh.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us, Mike.
So, do I get any flack for calling you Mr. Potato Chip Man?
No, in fact, that's the name I call myself when I would talk to a lot of people.
Oh.
Okay, so why don't you give us the just behind that take we just saw?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it really is a miracle that it happened. We had, as the tape said, a soup kitchen, and we wanted to supplement the income of the soup kitchen by entrepreneurship. So we decided we would start making a potato chip. And we started making the potato chips. We didn't know anything about making potato chips, and they turned out terrible. So we started making the terrible potato chips, and we said, well, let's figure this out. Let's start serving.
I mean, you are in the city of Better Made.
Right, exactly. So we started serving the potato chips to people who were coming to our soup kitchen, and people whose only meal of the day was at our soup kitchen threw the potato chips away.
Stop it. Wait a minute. Hold on. Time out. So people who are less fortunate, people who are famished, who only may have one meal a day, originally threw your potato chips away.
Threw them away, and that became our barometer. We were, after everybody was left,
I'm laughing with you, by the way.
We look in the trash, and we'd say, well, today wasn't a good batch. We've got the potato chips. This is our barometer, but slowly but surely, fewer and fewer potato chips ended up in the trash, and we figured it out.
That kind of sounds to me like what they were doing over at Motown. You know, when they first were trying to find those hits, they would let everyone listen to the sound, you know, to see if they had a hit on their hand, and they would yay or nay it. So
it's part of creation.
Yeah,
you get critiqued.
Potato chips?
Yes.
Potato chips?
Yes, potato chips.
Mike, who first, was it you? It had to be, maybe it was you. Who was the first person to say, you know what? I think we should make potato chips.
That also, can you elaborate? How do you make potato chips? I've always wanted to know that.
Well, so
from a potato.
so back when
you're a potato right now.
So back when Whole Foods was about to open, they were doing research. So they had different people come to. They had different meetings in the community, just to kind of talk to people about what they wanted in a Whole Foods. So one of the locations was our community center, And the guy who was going to be the manager at the Detroit Whole Foods, he took a liking to me and to the community center. He said, we're going to do something. We're going to do something.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 month went by, 2 months went by, and finally he sent me a text, and it was a picture of him holding a bag of potato chips.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gave us, Larry Austin, the manager, the former manager at Whole Foods, he gave us the idea. So we started out making potato chips because we were growing potatoes in our urban farm, and we couldn't compete in price with potato farmers. So we said, well, maybe we could use this idea from Larry to create an added value product that would help us make money for the soup kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So we brought the potatoes that we grew and we sliced them up and we fried them. Well, so that's basically, you wash the potatoes, then you cut them up, then you wash them some more, then you deep fry them. And so that's what we did, but we didn't know what we were doing, and we just kept making terrible potato chips.
So okay, first of all, were you doing all this by hand? And second of all, how long did it take you to go from the idea to a perfect potato chip?
It took us probably about 3 years.
Three.
3 years. Yeah,
What?
3 years.
What?
Right.
You can.
Years.
So when
3
we
years.
started making the potato chip, we knew we couldn't out Better Made, and we couldn't out Frito-Lay.
Right.
So we had to figure out a way to make a distinctive chip. So we had limited success on making a potato chip like Frito-Lay or Better Made, but we knew that we weren't going to be able to compete, because why get our potato chip when you can go and get Better Made or Frito-Lay. Right.
Ooh.
So we had to figure out a way to do this. And so so when we first started out, we were very, very modest. Our whole principle was do what you can where you are with what you have now. So we made the terrible potato chips. We got some wax paper, and we got plain brown bags like people carry their lunch in, and that was our packaging. We stapled a business card on it, and that's how we sold the potato chips at different events.
In a brown paper bag.
In a brown paper bag.
That's
right.
so Detroit.
It's true.
So how much did the chips go for in the beginning?
Well, they were always expensive, and that was the other. that was.
Well, they needed money to keep on making them.
He said it was always expensive.
Right,
good or bad.
Because and this was one of the things that blew my mind. We had a meeting with like one of the biggest potato farmers in the Midwest.
Okay.
And he told us that he was one of the providers of potatoes for Frito-Lay. And he told us that Frito-Lay, they have like this mold, and if the potato doesn't fit in the mold, that they send the potato back to the farmer, and he has to pay for it. He has to give him a refund. So that's how much power Frito-Lay has, so they can dictate the price too. So
that's a institution that's decades old at that point.
Right. But that was on the shelf. You know, conceivably, you could go to the supermarket looking for a potato chip today and walk out empty-handed, because there's so much choice that you couldn't make up your mind. So we knew that we had to create a very unique potato chip, and that's what took us so long. So yeah, it took us about 3 years.
Wow.
Okay.
And we were cooking every day. This isn't like, okay, well, I guess we'll make it this week. No, this is every day.
Is there something without giving away your secret? I understand when you have something distinctive in terms of food of any kind, you don't want to give away your ingredients. Is there something though you can provide that helped you make it work?
Well,
we are being inquisitive.
So the crunch We wanted to.
Okay.
So we had to find an oil that would give us a particular crunch.
Okay.
And then we made the potato chip thicker.
Mm.
So those two combinations, the cooking oil, which was soy oil, and the thickness of the chip made it distinctive.
All right. See, Karlos?
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
I think probably my takeaway from everything he's just said is the fact that he said, if not us, or if not Better Made, why us?
Right.
And that's the whole reason why DSDT has why DSDT.
Mm.
Because as I've always pondered, why would you go to a DSDT when you can go to a Wayne State, a University of Austin, Texas, or wherever the case may be? Why DSDT? And I think only great minds tap into that in order to distinguish themselves from their competition. Because the competition isn't saying, if not Wayne State, why DSDT?
No.
Why would you go to Wayne State as opposed to DS? They're not looking at us like that because we're the small guys in the pond.
You're smaller and you're newer.
We're newer, and at the same time, in order for us to fill that gap, because there's a gap in every market.
Absolutely.
We're talking about potato chips. Like you said, you can go into the market right now or into the supermarket and you will see just billions of bags of chips.
But also, it's also important to keep this in mind. The norm doesn't apply to everyone.
That's true. That's true.
The Wayne State, the Michigan State,
That's
the
true.
University of Michigan, the Better Made, the Frito-Lay doesn't, you're probably going to find very few people in Detroit who don't like Better Made chips, but I'm sure there are some who aren't a big fan.
It's true.
That's where Detroit Friends and Chips come into play.
But there's always room for you and your idea in the marketplace, even though it's been done before.
And that's particularly true here. Detroit is one of the few cities that will give a small business a fighting chance. Now you might not get but one chance, but you'll get a
chance. You will get a chance.
And after that,
and that's what's great about Detroit too, because it's all about being authentic.
Right.
When you're authentic, when you have an original idea, an original approach, you will, again, maybe only one opportunity, but you will get that opportunity to see what you can deliver to the folks. And if it's good stuff, even if it takes 3 years to make the right potato chip, it works.
So, Mike, I've heard on a number of occasions.
I don't know how you connected with Oprah too.
Josh,
I'm sorry.
We're gonna go back to that.
Okay.
My quick question: can you compose yourself, sir, please? So, I've heard on a number of occasions where Mark Zuckerberg has refused to sell Meta because he sees it as being perhaps his one idea. I probably will never have another idea as great as Meta. When you look over some of your life events, Mike, was this that one idea for you that perhaps you would never have another greater one, or have you had a number of great ideas like this that actually took fruition?
I think I've had some other great ideas, but this is the one that really, obviously just went beyond my wildest imagination, not teaming up, but being discovered by Oprah. I mean, that's like, who could think that?
Blessings upon blessings.
Yeah, it took 18 months, and it was a lot of work. Yeah, she's quite the taskmaster.
So how did all of that take place?
Okay, so what happened was, a friend of mine and a mentor in the food business, I asked him, I said, hey man, associations, that's where it's at when you really want to make a breakthrough. And he said, you're right. And he said, you should join the Specialty Foods Association. So I was like, Specialty Foods Association, what's that? So they're based in New York, and they have this thing called the Fancy Food Show. That's probably what they're most famous for in New York. But anyway, it's in New York, but it's a national association of specialty food makers. And so I joined, and the lady who represented the Midwest for the Specialty Foods Association, she was from Rochester, Michigan. And so she saw that we had joined the Specialty Foods Association, and she saw our story, and she said, wow, I love you guys' story. You made your farm to table. I'm going to refer you to the Specialty Foods magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't know what the Specialty Foods magazine was, and we certainly didn't know that first adopters read it religiously.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, okay. So the Specialty Foods magazine editor contacted us, and she said, we're going to do a story on you. Where was people go to buffet all the time, self-serve. Where was a self-serve story? What do I mean? The story, she sent us questions, and then I took the picture and I sent her the answers to the question, and I sent her a picture, and that was the story that ran in the magazine. Well, Oprah's people read the magazine because it's for early adopters, and they saw the story and they loved it, and they contacted us.
Wow.
So they contacted us by email, and when we got the email, we thought somebody was playing a practical joke on us. Certainly somebody who made terrible potato chips a year ago was not.
Hold on. 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
For 3 years.
Wow.
Certainly Oprah's people weren't contacting us. So we sent them potato chips, and it took us about 18 months. She wants to change our packaging. She wanted us to create a new flavor, and she wanted us to create a gift basket.
Okay. Because you wanted y'all to do a lot of work to be on Oprah.
But let's keep this in mind. We are talking about Oprah. She has her ideas. Rarely, if ever, fail.
Wait, listen. So she wanted y'all to change
make that basket.
She wanted you to change your packaging,
change the packaging, create a new flavor,
right?
And create a box. Well, it was a
basket,
a wooden crate,
okay,
that we had to customize. So we had to find somebody locally to build it.
Wow.
What flavor did she want you to make?
Well,
or encouraged?
The Adam. In the guy who was telling our story in the video, he liked the green bag, the onion and celery. So that's the bag. We started out with the 3 bags, the barbecue, sea salt, and the lemon pepper. And then
wait a minute, hold on, stop. Y'all had lemon pepper chips?
Yep.
Oh my.
And see, I like that. Instead of sour
lemon
cream,
pepper,
onion, and celery.
Where are these chips at? I want to tell you. I've never seen lemon pepper chips ever anywhere.
Which color?
The yellow.
Oh yeah.
Yellow.
Yeah.
My mouth is watering right now. Lemon.
Now,
I love lemon pepper.
That's Detroit right there. That lemon pepper, man. You know, we love our lemon pepper around here on fish, chicken,
definitely.
Chips.
Yeah. So,
okay.
So
what are the other 2 flavors too?
Barbecue.
Okay, barbecue. Okay, standard red.
Yeah.
All right, and the blue?
Sea salt.
All right.
And then the onion celery.
Yeah.
Onion and celery and lemon pepper. Which one sells the most?
Well, we don't make the chips anymore.
Okay.
The one that sells the most, the sea salt was the number 1. Barbecue is number 2. Well, barbecue and lemon pepper kind of went neck and neck.
I can see lemon pepper.
And then the onion celery.
Yeah.
I gotta ask this question. I gotta ask it, and I might get some of my fans out there may say, "Karlos, you've done it again." But so you guys had these potatoes, had access to the potatoes, and your first thought was, well, we should make potato chips. However, why not vodka, gin? Why not these things that could very well have been made from the potatoes as well? I'm just asking. I'm asking for a friend who wants to know. I'm just saying.
Well, we thought that potato chips was kind of like the easier deal, and it was decidedly low tech. So when you buy snacks now, they have like a special gas that goes into the bag, and then the bag is made with a special machine, and it's just really kind of complicated.
Okay.
I guess it took 3 years to make them.
No, but this bag was like real simple. You open it and you seal it.
Okay.
Most bags come rolled up like wallpaper, and you have to have a special machine that spreads it out, then it glues it, then you have to have air pumped into the bag, then you put the chips in it, then you seal it. Yeah.
So Michael, what because I know that you're here at DSDT now, and you're in the digital marketing program, correct?
Correct.
So now that you're taking this after so many triumphs in your life, what are you doing with this amalgamation of everything that you've learned?
Well, I had one of the ideas that I had come up with that I really wanted to give life to was creating a software, an app that helps people lower their water and energy bill or usage. So I really wanted to do that, and so I thought that this would be a great place to figure that out, because I had like the gist of the idea, but I didn't have like how it would really work, how it would fit, and then how to sell it. Because as you well know, sales is the big thing more than anything else, oftentimes.
Some tells me that in the throes of trying to figure all this out, I have no doubt that you actually are going to be the one to do it.
Well, I really hope so, and I'm just delighted to be here at the school. I'm learning a lot, and it's made it's really helpful with working with the instructors on this idea.
Yeah, it seems to me you should be instructed. I'm just saying. I'm saying. Like, you have a plethora of knowledge that, I mean, you're talking about from the marketing to the building of a real business. I mean, at one point, first of all, how many years did you guys actually build or sell potato chips?
Well, we sold them for 6-7 years.
6 or 7 years. Yep. And in the grand scheme of, do you still own the brand yourself?
I
or
still own the brand. I still own the building that the brand was made in. I had everything, my own staff, my own building, my own production.
Wow.
When did you back away from it?
A year ago in August.
Okay.
A year ago, August. So we're talking about the throes of the pandemic.
Right.
Any possibility you'll bring it back?
I don't know. It was a lot of fun. It was gratifying to be noted by Oprah and everything. Nice. And that's the thing about Oprah. It's kind of like an annuity. It just keeps going. Now that we were discovered by her, people are like, oh, okay, well, you must know what you're doing to get discovered by her. And getting discovered is one thing, but closing the deal with her is another.
That's like a Shark Tank.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like a Shark Tank. It really is. But it's the same thing, you know, we just had Beyonce.
Yes.
Right.
When you received that email from
it's easy to get the notoriety. Then closing the deal on the back end is you got to have this. Oh, and we need you to do this. It's like, hold on now. Hold on.
You came to me.
That's exactly.
Well, that was the other thing about Oprah, the deadline. She said, I want you to come up with a new flavor, and I want you to send it to me by Friday. And the day is Tuesday.
Hold on.
Those are the type of deadlines.
It took me 3 years to get to this point.
You can't think like that. You just got to do it. But those were there. So we'd have.
So we work better on the clutch.
Didn't have a choice.
3 years went to 4 days.
Right. And then you send it to her, and she said, "Oh, this is close. You got another 4 days to tighten it up."
Okay.
So did you ever do a pickle flavor?
I did vinegar. I did a salt and vinegar.
Ooh-wee.
That was a good one too.
Make my mouth water.
And that was like an aqua blue bag.
We get our hands on some lemon pepper though. Man.
Hey, you know you're about to go down in our archive of grapes. Yes. Greats. You really are. I think that you are so impressionable, and just the life's journey that you have had needs credence. And I would love to have you at some point even speak to students who may not even know your story as they're trying to begin their steps. I mean, you have individuals like Marco who sits up front, who may not have heard the totality of everything that you've gone through and could have gained some sort of wisdom, knowledge from your life experiences. I mean, I can't steal the show by myself. I'm saying, you know, and then I have you come along even with Josh. And from time to time, we have these panels and these discussions specifically for the student body so that they can get that information that they need to go to that extra mile. So,
yeah. And like I said, this was like all the time I was doing this, I was like, man, I gotta be supernatural. I gotta create something supernatural because I knew the competition was so tough. Now, at the same time I was doing the potato chip, I had a third business. I had started a medical clinic, and it was
entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I had 9 exam rooms.
You had what?
9 exam rooms,
Yeah.
and I said, well, how am I going to find a doctor? And finding the doctor was the easy part. Getting the patients was the hard part. So I found, guess how I found the doctor?
Dr. Oz.
Craigslist.
Okay, you found a doctor on Craigslist.
A doctor on Craigslist.
Was he like Dr. Dre?
No, he passed all the muster. I mean, because we had to go to do the billing. He had to, had to cut the standards to be able to. So we found him through Craigslist.
Wow.
How long did you have this operation for?
A little under 2 years.
Under 2 years?
And the challenge was the monopoly power of the big of the 3 main hospitals.
Yep. I can only imagine.
Henry Ford Hospital, DMC, and St. John's.
Yeah. That goes along with the whole mindset of why the potato chips in the face of a Better Made, or why DSDT when you're talking about the larger colleges. You're the small guy that's coming to the party. I just saw the other day where EMU is even a competition for us. EMU has been there since 1849. 1840, your alma mater, 1849.
And that's before
that's before you become part of their competition.
No, when we show up, we offer training, a faster model to educate you in order to get you paired with employment opportunities. We're offering the like service, if you will, to EMU.
Accelerated approach.
Absolutely. But it's education. It's still education.
Absolutely.
No matter how you look at it, right? So we're a competitor, direct competitor. Why would you go to DSDT if you can go to EMU? So we have to sit and ponder that question all the time to be able to have a better potato chip than a Better Made, right? Why would you spend your, I don't know how much they were because he never got to that. Why would you spend your $10 for
a bag of
$4?
Okay,
$3.50, $4.
So why would you spend $4 on our chips when you could spend your $4 on whatever Better Made, whatever brand that you like?
I enjoy Better Made,
Doritos, whatever the case.
Lemon pepper.
Why would you do that when you can do one or the other? So us smaller guys are always trying to figure that out. And as we're figuring it out, it helps the ball to keep rolling in hopes that we stay in the game.
I mean, look, I'm joking about the Better Made because I'm obsessed with lemon pepper.
Okay.
But nevertheless, the point is because you're different.
Yeah.
You find a way to be different.
Yeah, that's right.
You found a way to be different. That's right. DSDT, you found a way to be different. That's how you stand out. That's how you make yourself part of the competition.
I agree.
Bigger, smaller, newer, older, doesn't matter.
I agree 100,000%. All right.
Pepper.
Mr. Mike, we want to thank you for taking our time to come and have a conversation with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And I know that follow-up will be that we bring you and have a conversation for students, like we have a tendency to do from time to time, Josh, because I definitely want them to latch on to the experience that you have and be able to perhaps learn something to move whatever their ideas are forward. A lot of times it's about being an entrepreneur. We have a lot of students who actually come to us, they take these classes and they figure in the throes of it that they want to be an entrepreneur. So it's not always easy. You might be given that idea today, but I promise you it may take 3 years for you to develop it. And so I think another thing that was funny to me is how he said that she wanted them to change the packaging. I guess so, if they were in brown bags. I'm just saying. So, hey,
we're selling your chips in the brown paper bag.
Yes,
for $3.50.
Right. $4. Some places charge $5
in a brown bag. We were different because we different.
Right.
Listen.
Oh, and that was the other thing. We didn't have labels, so we got a home copy. We had a home copy machine, and we got some clip art off the internet, and we cut the clip art, and then we get a glue stick and stick and put the glue on the black back of the clip art, and then that was our label.
Okay, this is another example that Oprah is a real one. The fact that she would even taste them out of her brown paper bag.
But hold on. Here's the $1 million question. The $1 million question.
Okay.
How many bags from day one until the day you shut it down? How many bags did you guys sell?
Oh,
darn a good question.
Tens of thousands. It was for Oprah, we were like, because that was when we got discovered by Oprah, that was the first year that Amazon started handling the Oprah's favorite things for Christmas, gifts. And so for a while, we were the #1 potato chip on Amazon.
Oh, well, you definitely deserve one of these before you go.
You can do it!
Again, Mr. Mike, we want to say we appreciate you taking our time to come and bless us today, and we look forward to having you again. Okay, my friend?
All right, well, I look forward to doing that.
Great episode, Carlos.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, but before we go, we just because y'all are here, we got to do our why DSDT. Since we talk so much about it, why don't we just go ahead and roll the tape, Marco?
Hi, I'm Michelle Dominguez. I am the Medical Assistant Program Director here at DSDT. In the Medical Assisting Program, we prepare students for entry into the healthcare industry. Students will learn everything from taking vital signs to drawing blood. Towards the end of their program, students will start an externship experience where they will have real-world experience working firsthand with doctors and patients. The field of medical assisting is one of the fastest growing occupations in the healthcare industry. If you are looking for a rewarding career in the healthcare industry, enroll in our medical assisting program here at DSDT.
Definitely. Thank you, Ms. Michelle. We appreciate you for taking our time to give us your why DSDT. And again, I think a lot of the conversation today hinged around the fact that sometimes you may be a smaller organization and you have to figure out your why. Why would someone elect to do or your service or your product versus the competitors? And so as we move forward with DSDT, we want to continue to meet that why. So appreciate everyone. Josh, it has been a phenomenal show again. So why don't you go ahead and close us on out?
The approach is to be authentic, my brother. Authentic. All right.
You had speech classes too, didn't you?
One or two. Well, wait, hold on. I've only been up since 1:30 this morning.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
That's my excuse. Authentic. Yeah. Trying to wake myself up. But anywho, no, great episode, Carlos. Continuation of conversing in artificial intelligence, technology, bridging the gap, digital divide, recognizing history in our own backyard with Michael in the building today. So great conversations, much more to come. In the meantime, that will do it for the Tech School podcast powered by DSDT. See ya.